You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
It started like a joke and I smiled. From Meme to Momo, we said no violence. Now I know not how to smile, 'cause my loved ones are gone. There is no place to call home. Our homes have been burnt. I am homeless in my homeland. There is no place to call my home. Homeless, homeless, homeless in my homeland. When are we going to have a dialogue? We have buried more than enough. Nothing heals the past like time. When are we going to have a dialogue? We've been marginalized enough. You may fool some people sometime. You cannot fool them all the time. Homeless, homeless. I am homeless in my homeland. Homeless, homeless. I am homeless in my homeland. The difference between people is opportunity. You are not there 'cause you are great. You are there by His grace. Do not treat others like second-class people. If you close your eyes to facts, you learn from mistakes. When are we going to have a dialogue? We have buried more than enough. Nothing heals the past like time. When are we going to have a dialogue? We've been marginalized enough. You may fool some people sometime. You cannot fool them all the time. Homeless, homeless, homeless in my homeland. Homeless, homeless. I am homeless in my homeland. Homeless, homeless. I am homeless in my homeland. Why am I homeless? Homeless, homeless. I am homeless in my homeland. Homeless in my homeland.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Fellow Ambazonians, dear countrymen, despite the hike in targeted summary execution of our innocent people by Paul Biya's killer squads, I still believe we are now at the twilight of our political daybreak, emptying the combined worth and wealth of a lifetime fortune into the country of our collective dream.
A place we can surely call home.
At last, my people, the wind of total liberation is sweeping through Ambazonia, our priceless inheritance.
The land of our forebears.
A place we can surely call home.
A few years ago, a vicious dictator declared war on our sovereign nation of Ambazonia. It is a war we did not seek nor provoke, but are determined to muster every strength we can harness and continue sending the message to our enemy that we have risen to call home.
We have paid dues for everything. We pay tax for goods we buy. We pay fuel in our cars. We pay hospital bills and the dues for all other sacrifices.
I can give all I have for the one hope that I have.
Because I hate my CID. I'm actually proudly Amazonian.
Let's get it straight. The freedom of Ambazonia will not depend on the free will of her enemies.
Independence will be but days away if we get it right with our CID level.
My dear comrades, I am appealing to every Ambazonian to register with the CID program.
We have no control over our distorted history, but with our CID, we can set the pace and determine the future of Ambazonia.
Yes, the hope for the future is in our hands. As an Ambazonian, my identity is conclusive. My right is guaranteed. My vote will always count as I pay my CID.
As an Amazonian, I will shape the future with my CID.
With your CID of just $10 per month, the interim government is contract to fulfill all that you wish to be done.
Let us build a freedom mansion from the little blocks, which is our CID levy.
There will be food for everyone, hope for every child, justice for every citizen when we pay our CID levy.
Yes, the dream we can realize. With my compulsory independence dues, CID, I have the opportunity to give to the next generation a greater nation, better than we inherited.
Yes, CID program is freedom made easy, freedom made cheap, freedom for Amazonia now.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
There's no volume.
No volume, sir. Your, your mic is closed.
No volume, sir.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I've been talking all alone, making a loud noise and making gesticulations and so on. This is so cute. Anyway, thank you so much. Once again, I welcome all the Ambazonian people first, before the entire world and the televiewers that are here listening to ethics from an emerging nation. Ethics of an emerging nation. And before we get into the topic today, I was just welcoming all the televiewers around the world, and in Ambazonia in particular, 25,000 guns salute to our RF, who are doing a good job to take us back home. And I was also reiterating that this platform is also to help you learn, so that when you get down there tomorrow, you'll not be a novice. And because we are emerging in our nation, we want you to emerge not only the way you are thinking, but also mentally, so that when we get back home, it will be easy. You know, when people are educated and people are learned and people are taught, it is easy to lead life. But when you are dealing with sheep, it's terrible. Anyway, I stop there. Uh, Welcoming all of you on board. I want to start with you, Dr. Titanta. Can you just greet our audience and say a word before we go ahead?
Great. Thank you very much, comrade. Thank you very much. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians on Ground Zero. Good evening, Ambazonians all over the world. Good morning, wherever you may be. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure for me again to be on this panel of seasoned Ambazonians to put my own little effort in the education of our people. It is time for each and every one of us to put our hands on the plow. And when we decide to put our hands on the plow, we should not look back, because he who looks back is not worthy of the calling. So it is a pleasure for me to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Titanta. And I see my co-host is right in there. But before I turn over to her, Barrister Tim, can you just go ahead and say a word to the people of Ambazonia particularly, and to the entire audience that is televiewing us right now around the globe? Over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Again, my last speaker has said it all. Education is a continuous process. And coming from where we are, we're in the Republic now, we seem to have forgotten that what they say, practice makes perfect, is also a negative. For example, I don't remember my history of practice since 1983, anybody ever prosecuted for corruption in Cameroon or bribe giving. So it has become the norm. If you don't give bribe, you are the enemy. That's practice making imperfect. So going to where we are going as Ambazonia, that type of nonsense must stop. That's why ethics is there, the morality of the society. If you are, for example, a guy who goes out looking for women in the bar every night, that does not make it right just because you have money. Things like that. So I think we hope many listeners watching us will learn a lot for the future of the country that we are trying to build, and for their own individual families. Ethical things are absolutely necessary from your bedroom to the marketplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that elaborate greetings over there. Finally, we get over to Dr. Ndula to shout out a word of greetings to our audience before we get into the real thing. Over to you.
Thank you, Pastor Commando, Mamanka, fellow panelists, and fellow Ambazonians. I'm glad to be on board today. I would like to remind Ambazonians that there seems to be some constitutional crisis in Ambazonia today. But all those problems, they are caused by individuals and groups and people who disrespect the institutions of Ambazonia, who mostly go on social media insulting others, and who have little respect for the interim constitution and respecting the structures that are in place and that have been doing some good job up till now with the limited resources we have. Problems are there to be talked about and resolved in-house properly, following ethical standards, following our interim constitution, and following presidential executive orders and all the rules that we have, and respecting the institutions. That is the type of nation we want to build, and all those who are practicing that are welcome. And all those who are not doing that, then expect to hear from us, expect to have some invitation from us, either from the national level or at the local level, because ethics commissions are being set up in the local government areas and the counties, and that is to help see the smooth functioning of our interim government. First of all, those of us in the diaspora, which translates to ground zero, to so that they know we will be a nation of law, a nation of mutual respect, and of high ethical values. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndula. Before we get into the real core of the matter today, I have with us in the studios my co-host, Mamanka, and I would like her to just say a word, and we'll pick up from there. Thank you.
Pastor Commando, excited to see you. I'm very happy.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be here, but I have to tell you guys this. Pastor Commando, you're going to host alone today. Something came up. We have the Bafoot meeting, and it is hot. You guys know we hold so many hats, right? One person has one hat because we need everybody to be volunteers. But, you know, people will sit in the background and criticize us and make audios and all kinds of stuff and insult, just like Dr. Ndula was saying about the ethics of our people, because we have picked on the ethics of La République, and it is going and so right now we are in a crisis, and of course we have sub-crisis. There is a sub-crisis in the Bafut community, which I am actually supposed to be in a Zoom meeting with them right now. And I decided I needed to come. So you are going to host, I know, unfortunately, I'm letting you know this. If I could say it on the air, the president is even waiting on me. So I'm going to go. And thank you. But if I have an opportunity, I will come back. If not, it's going to be hot in Bafut today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mamanka, for honoring the invitation and showing up present. That is part of ethics, of which we are talking about in Ambazonia. That is exactly part of the ethics that we're talking about. God bless you. Have a wonderful meeting and a fruitful meeting in Bafut. And we know that all the crises are temporal. They will pass as long as we are there.
Amen for that. And next week, for sure. Next week, God willing. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Before we get into our topic today, which is template for conflict resolution, we in the ethics for an emerging nation, we always want to remind our audience where we stopped so that there should be continuity. I will never forget that word, continuity, when we just started off with the definition of all that we shall be talking about concerning ethics. And so last week, a number of things were discussed, and I would like to crave the indulgence of Dr. Titanta to give us a brief summary of what happened and what was said last week. From there, we can now push ahead. Over to you, Doc.
Thank you for that question. Before I get to answer that question, I would first of all make a statement. As I always say, I'm a believer, and I think that people should function according to the principle in which they believe. The Bible says that the kingdom, from the time of John the Baptist till now, the kingdom suffers violence, and only the violent shall take it by force. What it means here, and there is also a saying that evil triumphs when the righteous sit quiet. So it is time for the righteous to not sit quiet. It is time for the righteous to be violent. I don't mean violent in terms of weapons, in terms of physical weapons. Violence in the sense of the truth. Stand on the truth and shout the truth at the top of the roof, no matter how hard the opposing party tries to silence you. No matter how hard they press on you, you should stand on the truth, because the truth will set even those that are being led by evil free. Coming back to the question of what we discussed last week, we introduced a form to our Ambazonian citizens, a form that every citizen who intends to file a complaint must use as a template for their complaint. And on that form, it was very clear that the form must contain the name of the complainant. It must contain the name of co-complainant if there are more than one. There is more than one person complaining. In case there are witnesses, there should be the name of the witness. That form must be signed and dated. That form must list the complaints that are being explicitly laid down, the complaints that are involved here. So this is what I remember from that form. So it must be dated and signed, include a complainant's name, and if the defendant's name must also be included. So this is in summary what we did last week. Thank you.
Dr. Dula, do you have something to add to that summary of what happened last week? This is powerful.
No, unfortunately, I was not. Wasn't chance to be there at that meeting.
There last week.
Yes.
Okay.
But hearing from comments, everything went well. I mean, Dr. Titanta knows it then much better than me.
Yeah. What of Barrister Team? You have something to add last week?
I think the only thing I will add is that we also discussed on how to take an appeal if you are not satisfied with what was said in your own ethics commission. For example, we said that you must include a copy of the decision that you are disagreeing with, and then put down the reasons why you disagree with that decision, and then send it to the ethics where you're appealing your matter to. For example, if it is the IGA, send it to the county, from the county to the national ethics, and so on and so forth. So that's about it. I hope everybody understood that. That is not the end of the day. If you go to an IGA and you don't find an answer, you can still appeal to the county. But the important thing is you must list the things why you are disagreeing and include the decision that is not satisfactory to you. I think that's all about that.
That is. Thank you very much, Barrister Team. I think we are actually progressing. Now, I want to let the Amazonian people know that ethics for an emerging nation is not going to be just a verbal story that is told every now and then. From what Dr. Titanta has just explained, what happened last week, when you are coming to make a complaint to the Ethics Commission, definitely there are some requirements to authenticate who you are, so that tomorrow it will not be doubting who did this. And then there will be all these social media games that are being played here and there. So we are building a nation that is going to have everything documented electronically or physically. Now, let's get down today. Talk about the template for conflict resolution. I will get down to you, Barrister Tim. What does this mean? The topic, the template. We have already heard how complaints should be made and follow up how they should be made. But when you talk of template for conflict resolution, what does that imply?
It implies when you successfully file a complaint, how is your case handled? What are the processes that your case goes through? So you know that I filed a complaint. What you expect from from the commission next? That what the complaint is the template is all about now. So when you file a complaint, what are you expecting? How the commission works to its finality in all cases, whether it is on appeal or from the first instance and so on and so forth. That's what the present template means.
Okay. Dr. Ndula, you have something to add to that? You are muted. Dr. Ndula, you are muted. We cannot hear you.
Hello, you get me now?
Yes, yeah, we can get you.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes. Talking about the templates, I mean, it is everything has to be in writing. We encourage Ambazonians to, we are building a nation where we'll not just rely on the words of people, no matter how influential, how popular, or how loud they are, or how many people listen to them from hearsay, or as we say in Congosa, in Pidgin English. Those things have to be put in writing, the complaint, and the response from the parties. So things are documented. You write something down, you are accountable for what you write and responsible for what you are uttering, because anybody can say anything out there, but things are to be documented. It is why those things have to be written down and in a precise format. So that template is very, very important. And to some activists out there, we value our activists that they spread the awareness of our restoration quest, but they are not the people to go out there, accuse people falsely or with half truths without proof, and on their shows be the accuser, the judge, and the executioner all in one. That is unethical, and we go after such people also. We invite them to hearings. Some do not come. So those templates are very important for law-abiding Ambazonians. Thank you. You are muted. We can't hear you.
About that. Largely, we are building a society that for some time now has been deprived of formal, I call it formal education, because there are still some other methods of education that are not very formal. You can study at home, you can study somewhere else, and things of that nature. And Dr. Ndula did mention something that is very pregnant there, knowing that from the poison we got from the Republic, you can just come with a gossip with a chunk of money in your pocket after you have beaten somebody in his house and seize maybe his property. And as you appear in the police station first, the victim is actually coming. I mean, the owner of the property, call him the victor, is actually coming in there as a victim because, you, the thief, you went to the police station first. And that's what we are doing everything to undo, because it is like a canker worm in the hearts and in the lives of many Ambazonians of today. Now, in our emerging nation, and with this template, what about people who may not be really able to articulately put down their complaints? How are we going to help them in their localities? I ask this question to you, Dr. Titanta.
Since we are building a nation where there will be equal opportunities for everyone, I think we should also think about putting in place health centers that will cater for people who do not have the capability to understand or to fill these forms we're actually laying down. So there must be centers where people can go in and get their complaints written down for them in the format that the local government or the national authority want it to be written. And I want to also say what I see in the word template is they must carry some uniformity. There must be something that when you, for example, in Babisi local area, the template should be understandable when it is taken over to, let me say, to Buya. So imagine that a complaint in Okotunja was not solved satisfactorily to the complainant. As it is being handed to the National Ethics Commission, the continuity, as you rightly say, every place that people will receive this document, they should be able to figure out. The template should contain essential things that the commissioner will be able to use. So there must be a continuity. It shouldn't be like Okotunja decide to decide their own template, which is totally independent from FACO. No, there must be somewhere where there is some continuity. Yeah. So concerning the first question, we should set up help centers to help people who have complaints, but they are not able to write these complaints down or to articulate it themselves, maybe for one reason or the other. So there would be things like this.
Good. Yeah, I think we are talking, and I want to find out from Barrister if the stories we are telling here on ABC, let me just presume that tomorrow, after 10 years of being at home, somebody comes with his archives and reproduces what we are talking today. Will there be a document to that effect that what we were talking on the air was not just another talk, but that we have documented documents, well kept, so that people can make reference because some of the things we are saying here are absolutely new. And if I should think that they are new, then there should be a format where we are putting them down for posterity tomorrow. Will there be something like that, Barrister?
150% sure. Now we are dealing with the new.
I like that
we are dealing with
affirmation.
new age. What we are doing right now, what do you mean? Are doing right now, speaking, is being recorded, and that recording is going to remain for eternity. I think we will pick up records of what President Johnson, the first Queen of England. You hear them talking there because they were recorded and kept. So what we are doing today in social media is recorded and kept. Back home where they don't have it, it is written in handwriting or whatever, and the papers are kept in the file. Today, it has become so modern. You can take that file, that very file written in hand, transform it into some technique and save it. So in summary, what we're saying today will be there for tomorrow and for future generations. That is why what we state right now on social media, on these social programs, we should be sure that we're telling the truth. We're saying the facts as they are, because tomorrow it will be quoted for having said this. So in summary, there will be references. All these recordings that we are doing, social media, videos are kept, are recorded for posterity. Handwriting, speeches you make are recorded. You don't even know. When you're talking to me, you don't know that someone is recording you on phone. So those things are recorded and will be kept for posterity. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Dr. Ndula. It's like you have some addition to put down there before we push on the next question. While we are looking forward to having our guest SOS Frank was supposed to be with us today. We don't know whether he has entered the studios yet, but Dr. Ndula, can you go ahead and just answer like Barrister said? These things are put in the archives, these things are written down, they are taped, they are recorded to put in any retrieval way that in the next 10 years while back home, references can be made and people can recall, and the doctrine of an emerging nation is pushed forward. Can you go ahead and say something about that?
Yes, Pastor, thank you for that question. The thing is, we should all know there is truth and there are lies. The truth is always that which is good to say. It lies in the nature of truth to always come out at some time. And if you start telling lies, sometimes it will come out, be it from your own mouth or from some other source. So it is always good to stay with the truth, no matter the cost, no matter what. That is should be a part of you, part of your integrity. Things that are happening today in Ambazonia, no matter how good or how bad you do something, if somebody comes out with the truth, I say, well, sorry, this didn't go well as I envisaged. It's like this, like that. They say, okay, things happen. We know the situation in which we are today. There are no courts and there are no prisons, no policemen to arrest people and take them into that. So it is good to say the truth always, but we know our human nature. We lie. So what is recorded, what is written down, your voice, it is not. It cannot be a lie when it is brought up later on. So it is always very good. They say in Germany we say trust is good, but control is better. So I might say certain things and then forget or say something which is contrary. So if my words are played to me and that is authentic, well, I say, well, that's the truth. Nobody can go against that. So we want to build a nation based on truth, integrity, justice, and that will go a long way towards preventing things that are happening like today, what we see out there, people labeling insults and half truths and lies against other people's names. But when audios come out, when documents come out, then the truth is established, and then we know where we are. That will help us as a nation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. We are building a nation. Ambazonians, I want to tell you the way I'm so excited with what I am hearing and what is going on right now is actually sending me back to the 60s and the late 60s. And I'm seeing what was happening in Ambazonia when the legislature and the executive and the judiciary were absolutely watchdogs, one against another, just because of the human nature that Dr. Ndula has just mentioned. I know that if we had a nation that is made up of people like what Dr. Titanta is saying, born again child of God, then we will need no other control but theocracy. But unfortunately, we are not in a theocratic. Theocracy is a government that is controlled and ruled by God. But even though we are now in the world, we've discovered that we are discovering that God is not even a Democrat, not to talk of being how do you call the other one? Democrat
Republican.
and
Republican.
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 Republican. God is not a Democrat, and God is not a Republican. Why do I say so? It's because even though both Republicans and Democrats, they go by the majority vote, that is not who God is. God goes with the truth. And where two or three are talking the truth, God is there. And a refuge of lies can be swept away when God is there. And now, when it comes to ethics, ethics actually enters into the heart of God, because ethics is talking about the morality that an average human being would want to have. But there is an impediment, there is a hindrance. And that's why we must come out with some of these nuggets to begin to put in the hearts of our people. And some of the nuggets that we need to put for our people to sit up is rules and regulations, which, of course, without discipline attached to it, it will mean nothing. Like La Republic of Cameroon has made it very redundant. When you have laws, you have rules, and nobody is obedient to them, because nothing will happen. He has an uncle over there, and he has a godfather in that place, and a stepsister who is the brother's wife to the uncle's sister's son's daughter's friend, and so on. So without those connections, the ethics are being dumped aside, and they are being disregarded. Now, I don't know where I was now, but let me see. I think it's you, Barrister. Was it to Barrister or to... my rounds are a little bit distorted.
Okay,
So, but anyhow,
you started with me.
yes.
So
Let me throw this over. Yes, let me throw this over to the barrister. Go ahead.
yeah, I was trying to say, let me add something. Let all watchers, all our viewers, all our followers understand this simple thing. Yes, we don't have courts until we get to Ambazonia. But right now that we're talking, today, February 4th, we have other courts around the world. And I want to remind them, if they didn't know, when you go on social media, Facebook, TVs, call it ABC, ABS, BBC, CRTV, and you're talking evil about somebody, if you don't know that that is actionable. If you go a line about me or about you, about somebody else over CRTV, for example, what you are lying, what you are telling, the lies you are telling there are actionable in court. They will sue you in Cameroon, in Japan, in China, anywhere where the people are, as long as those records are there. So those of us who go on social media, be it Facebook, WhatsApp, these private TV stations, and rain insults and lies on other people, be warned. That thing might haunt you right now. They are not going to wait until we get to Ambazonia. No. I live in the United States. If you defame me on ABC or somewhere else, I will sue you. And I will subpoena ABC to bring the records of their taping. Whereas right now they're even taping at home anyway. Anybody is free to tape us. So again, as a warning to all Ambazonians following us, don't forget that what comes out of your mouth on social media, be it a TV station, a WhatsApp group, a Facebook thing, somebody can sue you and bring you down to your knees. So that's a general warning, general education for all of us. Some of us don't know it. So when you just think that you're on social media, you're saying you're a thief, you're a criminal, that is defamation. When you come on TV and you're saying it, you're even promoting it. You're going to be held more liable than the person who wrote it down, because the viewers that are watching us now are not necessarily going to read what you write. But when you come on TV and talking that thing, there are thousands and millions of people around the world who are watching you. defame your brother or your sister or someone else. That is actionable, I think, to the best of my knowledge, in nearly all the courts around the world today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Team, for that clarification. It appears, let me cross over to Dr. Ndula. Dr. Ndula, with what Barrister Tom has just said, we are not yet in Ambazonia, and so people have the right to tell their lies, to gossip, and to blackmail, and to bring out fake documents because they cannot, since we are not in Ambazonia, cannot be verified, and so on. Do you think that this kind of people can be our ethics for an emerging nation can be applied to them where they are today in the world, inventing and producing all these lies? Or we'll have to wait until we get to Ambazonia?
No, definitely not. We will not wait until we get to Ambazonia. Although to process all that and prosecute, we will have to keep those records until we soon have our independence, total independence, and in Boya, in the courts all around Ambazonia, those things will be brought up and then put out and then tried and decisions taken. But right now, as we talked about, we send out these templates to people to, when they have complaints, they bring it up to the Ethics Commission. And even when somebody doesn't bring something up, there are cases once or twice where somebody is there insulting leaders of our revolution and spewing out lies. And we call such people for clarification. We send out invitation to them. Some come, some do not. Even if you are in your absence, we will write down what we have met and decided upon and talked about, and the recommendations that will come out of it. We want a nation of mutual respect, a nation where you don't just go out and insult people, a nation where you say that somebody is innocent until proven guilty. And nobody, no activist, wherever you are, will be above the law. No single Ambazonian. So there are mechanisms now set in place. We invite people for hearings, even if nobody has indicted them. When we hear something, when we see something, it's not like we are saying, oh, you insulted, let me say, President Sako, you insulted the person of Dr. Sako Ikome, but it is the president that you insulted. It is this secretary that you talked about. It is that person. And those portfolios, those offices, those institutions, those are the things that we are protecting. We want to uphold, no matter who is sitting there. So we should let people know whatever you think you'd say or do, and out there in activism negative about others might come back to you even before we reach Ambazonia. So the Ethics Commission, together with the Judicial Commission, who strongly advise us all the time, Barrister Messiah, the head of judiciary, is with us in ethics. So we do our best to try to calm down such, to quell down such sparks before they become to flames and poison our people, like what is going on now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, before we zero down again on template for this conflict resolution as Barrister actually defined, I want to throw the last thought, not really a question, but a thought to Dr. Titanta. And it may contain a question, but then, Dr. Titanta, I want to find out, does the does the Ethics Commission just sit down and get ready with a slate hammer to deal with defaulters, or do they have advisory positions whereby a defaulter could be advised and then noted before any disciplinary action is taken? I don't know if you
Thank you, Pastor Commando, for that question. But before I answer that question, I would want to talk a little bit on what my previous colleagues were speaking about. I think it is good for us to begin to practice what we are preaching, even while we are still in the quest for the restoration of our nationhood. And I think it is possible. I like the point that Barrister Tim raised, that, which for me is an eye opener. We are fortunate that most of us who are involved in this restoration quest, we live in countries where ethical values are very high. We live in countries where there is clear, the judiciary, the executive, the legislative, they are all functioning very well. I think we can use this to bring some of these issues we are having to them, so that it will teach some of us some lesson, not to just go out and open our mouth and spew out hate, spew out all kind of lies about people. No, they can be answerable to it even today. They can be answerable to these things even today. And I would like to also say, in line with what I was just talking, that we can practice this. I want to commend my county chair, Ngokutuja county chair, who actually contacted me the other day after listening to our previous program, and he said he would love this for us in Ngokutuja to begin to have these forms and begin to implement. And just yesterday, I forwarded the form to him. And because even amongst ourselves in our LGAs, in our counties, we are having already issues that we can already begin to settle amongst ourselves. Yeah, even our little groups that we gather in our forum, we already see some ethical issues that we should begin. And I think that if we are really planning to build up a nation, if we are planning, we should be ready to subject ourselves to the institution that we are building today. If we truly think that we are citizens, we want this country. If we are putting these ethical programs, ethical mechanisms, those who are amongst us, that they must be ready to subject themselves for the scrutiny of this institution we are putting in place. Now, coming back to the question you asked, which is the Ethics Commission just sitting there with a sledgehammer? No, far from that. I think the first rule of the Ethics Commission is education, is helping because people are acting out of ignorance. People are acting because they don't know that they are doing something wrong. But until you teach the person that what you are doing is wrong, the person will continue to be adamant that what I'm doing is right. So I think we will start. Even in one of our show, we said there would be some education or reprimand before we go to even punishment. So I don't think we are our purpose here is to punish people. It is not our duty. Okay. It is when it's a criminal offense that, okay, the Ethics Commission is not involved in criminal issue. It has to be the prerogative of the judicial system. I think that's what I see for our ethical society.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I used to hear of the Reformation Center in Boya, which was actually a prison, but they used to call it Reformation. Am I right? Is that the name they used to call it? Reformation Center. Yeah, because people were not taken there for just to punish them for their act. They took them and did what Dr. Titanta has just said, educate them, reinforce what they're supposed to have known that they didn't know, and then reintegrated them into the society. That's why when they went to a reformation center, when they came out from there, there were no higher highway robbers and armed robbers, because some came out there with handwork, some came out there with and so on. And I think that if that is what the ethics is coming up in Ambazonia, in this emerging nation, to start implementing and teaching, some of us who are desirous to see what we saw before, it will give us joy before we go back to the Creator. Anyway, let's come back home now. Talking about this template for conflict resolution. Dr. Dula, can you just tell us something about the plan for the template for the resolution? How you in the ethics commission plan to go about that? Then after that, Dr. Barrister Tim and Dr. Titanta in that order.
Yes, thank you. I think it is built up in three parts. And I think for the first part, I'll talk about the second part. I think for the first part, I'll allow, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Titanta to take on that. And I will talk about the second part.
All right.
Okay, good.
Titanta.
Dr. Titanta.
All right. Thank you. This first part is actually talking about the reception of the complaint. What needs to be done by the commissioners when the complaints come in? The first thing that the commissioner need to do is that once a complaint is filed and received, it must be dated. The day the office of the commissioner received it must be dated. That it came in on February the 3rd, 2022. And that is the first thing that must be done. Once it is done, a system of referencing must be set, a uniform referencing system. This is very important because in subsequent communications, the references will have to easily locate the file. So referencing system, which is very well established, must be set up. So it must be given a reference number. And that reference number is that which will be used by the complainant, the defendant, and in subsequent communication. So it's very important. And once these two things are done, we now go into the validity of the complaint. Is the complaint valid? What do we mean by that? Has it followed the right procedure? Is the document name, the name of the complainant on the form? Are they co-complainants? Is the name of the defendants well clearly stated? Are the complaints clearly explicitly written out in an ambiguous way? Is the complaint, is the document signed and dated? These are important things. And once this is ascertained that everything is done correctly according to the template that we have set, then we can now issue a letter of intent to investigate. The commissioners can now issue a letter of intent to investigate, and that letter will be sent out first of all to the defendants together with the complaints that are being laid against him or her, so that they too. And it is important to know that once it is sent out, it's an official document. Because an official document, there must be a time limit for the defendant to respond. And because there must be a time limit, it means that the letter that is sent out must be record delivered. It must be registered, so that from the moment of reception of the defendant, we have a time limit to get a response back. And we expect the response to also to be a registered document, so that from the date of reception and the date of the reception by the defendants and the date of reception by the commissioners, we must check to see that it is within the time limit that is fixed. It is very important here, time limit, because we don't want people to just file anything and wait for months, for years before they are coming. There must be a time limit that is followed. There must sort of issues are solved within a reasonable time frame. So it's important. Once we receive then the response of the defendant, once the commission receive the response of the complainant, it has now the commission has to send back that response to the complainant, and then the complainant has to also again record deliver. Very important. And then within a deadline is fixed to receive again response. And once the response of the complainant is received, then we will have to, the commission has to sit down and examine the communication between the complainant, the defendant, and see what is the situation forward. Do we need to go on to a hearing? Or let's take, for example, the defendant said, yes, I recognize the fault, I recognize this thing, and I agree that I did something wrong. I think the decision will be made, which would, I think, would make the solving the problem easier. But if a defendant, for example, continues to say that, no, I don't recognize any of these things, I think then the commission has to sit down and decide whether to go on to a trial. This is the first part of our three stages.
Wow, Dr. Dula, go ahead with the second stage.
Yes, good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Let Dr. Dula go ahead with the second
yes. So yes, in the case where after having the complaint sent to the defendant and the response, and then we the ethics commission see that the problem is not resolved, that somebody has said, well, I recognize this and that I did wrong, I'm sorry, and then that was it, and then we give our recommendations to them. In the case where that is not satisfactory, then we will invite them to a hearing. So an invitation will be written to both parties, to the complainant and to the defendant, in an official letter stating when that hearing is to take place. But prior to that, we'll get in contact with them to see, because the time will have to be, it's not like the court system where you are ordered on this day, you must come to the ethics commission. We talk with them to see what date is like convenient for both of them at the shortest delay. And we, the commissioners, are very flexible. We are always there in a quorum number to hear the case. So we invite them to the hearing and send them the link. And during the hearing, we now tell them, first of all, what it's all about. We are not a court. We are there to mediate, to listen to both parties. People are to speak frankly and speak everything that's on their minds. And yes, they first of all have to swear to say the truth as far as to the best of their knowledge. Yes, and not only say the truth, say what is wrong, what is bothering you, but offer possible solutions. Because it is seen like, solutions which are imposed from outside, less adhered to than those which people propose by themselves, and they will be much more ready to comply by those solutions. So then after the complainant and the defenders have presented their cases, questions will be asked by the commissioners, and then the invited complainant, defendant with their witnesses will exit, and there will be deliberations by the commissioners. Then solution-oriented recommendations will be made, bearing in mind our interim constitution and all the rules and regulations in Ambazonia, and our ethics code. And then a final report will then be made by the Ethics Commission, which will copy the executive, head of the executive branch, the president, the Restoration Council, and eventually the parties. And there are cases where we don't just at the end come to a conclusion, and after deliberations. So there are cases where we have to get to other people who are close to the case, and then ascertain the facts by ourselves, because there are things which people could come say blatant lies, whereas documents are there about something that happened in a meeting. The audio is there, the written documents are there, And if that is contradictory, we'll take all that into account before putting down our final recommendations. So some of them might take time. So we'll write some notice to them to say, please hold on a bit, we are coming, so that to the best of our ability, and we do some little investigation and then try to ascertain the facts before we issue our recommendations. So that's what I can say to the second part of it, the hearing itself. So I think Mr. Tim can take over from here.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Tim, over to you.
Thank you very much.
That's the third part.
I think it's good for us to be reminded why we would send these complaints forth and back. We send it to the defendant. We send it back to the complainant. The idea is to narrow down the issues to be debated. Therefore, after doing all that, there might be situations where we never call the parties to come back and testify under oath, because the issues depend upon different circumstances. The first instance is, for example, if you say where the parties agree. If your complaint was that A owed you 10,000, and the response was that yes, I owed, he gave me 10,000, but I've given him 7 already. And then we'll send it back to him and say, look, he has replied that he has given you back 7,000. And you write, oh yes, I received 7,000. 3,000 left is no longer a dispute. So we don't need to call you there to come and testify anymore. Because between two of you, you all agree that what they owe is 3,000. And also, instant might be, your complaint coming to us or to the ethics might be such that they will not even handle it because it is out of their jurisdiction. For example, if your complaint was that you saw somebody break into someone's house, which is a crime, they tend to say, well, we realize that if a thief was breaking into a house, it is not within our competence. It is within the competence of the court and the police. Because even the man agreed to us that he broke into the house, we don't send him to prison. So we will simply say, look, we have received this complaint and found that it is not within our jurisdiction. The third one is where the parties themselves always come back to us and say, look, everything is over. It was just an answer, we were just joking. This is, in these exchanges, it is over. Why do we need to call you again to testify? No. In any circumstance, in any way, expect to have a written report back from the ethics. They will write to you at the end of the day. Say, after having received all this, this is our conclusion. Our conclusion is that, well, the matter is closed. People agreed to this. The matter is a criminal case. The matter is this. They will tell you why you were not called to come and testify. Then, as a reminder, because this has happened before, if you make a complaint and put in it 3 or 4 witnesses, on that day, don't come with 10. Come with exactly those 3 people you put there as the witnesses. Otherwise, if we just let you come in and say, well, you can, let me say from a county, you bring the whole county there, it will become a pandemonium. So again, there are situations where we will not sit down to hear the parties, which I've explained before. One of the reasons is that maybe they already agreed on the issue. The differences to be settled do not require further testimony. One of it is out of the jurisdiction. One of it is when the parties have already resolved their issues. But again, expect a written recommendation or a written document from the ethics, which will explain to you what happened. So if you fire and you don't ever, if you don't hear being called to come and testify, it's not that the matter is forgotten. Within a reasonable time, you'll be told why in writing. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
I thought you were still talking. All right, thank you very much. Wow, I think may I ask, anybody can answer this, please, but may I find out this template that you are talking about, is it found somewhere else yet? Because the way it's sounding to me will cause no, in fact, anybody who wants to cause trouble will not want to cause trouble. And those who will have trouble will just be because Nyanga they sleep, trouble, they can't wake up. So, Dr. Ndula, can you throw a little light on this template? I'm so excited with what the template is. You know, back in La Republic, they usually take shortcuts, and that's why we have a lot of problems because of shortcuts. But with the template that you guys are putting down in this place, I'm optimistic. Over.
Yes, thank you. So, the thing is with La République, everything is well worded. They have excellent laws and with nicely crafted words, in French. I mean, the language in which you can really do sweet talking and win somebody over. But the practice looks very, very different. The corruption and everything, and the pick and choose according to whims and caprices of those in power, those who are influential, those who are rich, and all that. In Ambazonia, that will not be the case in an independent Ambazonia. This template will be respected by all, and of course, there will be penalties for people not respecting all that. So, but we will not just, we know it's not everybody's thing to like be able to respect such templates. So we will not just throw out a case and say, "Oh, it was not filed in properly. You did not respect. You did not put point B after point A, but you put it the other way around." So people will get help in doing such things, and we will look at the substance of what is being brought to us. So that will be forwarded to all the LGA and county ethics commission representatives so that they know how it is run. We want uniformity, as Dr. Titanta said, the same procedure, the same rules and regulations, and the same manner of doing things all over Ambazonia, starting from the grassroots, the LGAs. So we want uniformity, and it's the same IG structure that is there from the local to the county to the federal level. And everybody, of course, will be equal before the law, no matter how rich you are, how poor you are, how influential, or what position you're having in the country. So that is what I can say to this. And these are not just words. We do our best to follow them up. And there was a case, for example, where an activist who went around insulting some officials and it was reported to us, was called in for questioning, refused coming. We ended up having some chat with him on the phone. So he was adamant and saying, yeah, he's right, this and that. He would say, we don't just take your word for it. There are steps to follow. He never even knew there was an ethics commission that he could take cases to. But he's somebody who does not really respect the laws he belongs to. So those people who claim they are impeaching the president, laughable. There's one thing that he said to me that was eye-opening. He said, on his show, the court of public opinion has already decided on this matter. What he was saying, the lies he was spewing about somebody and half-truths, unverified. We said, well, you said this and that and that. Please bring the proofs to us. Put all of that in writing and the proofs and everything and receipts and whatever, the money that person might have stolen or the lies that person told, and bring witnesses. He could not. He talked himself out of that. He even insulted us. But such things, we also do write recommendations. And even if one party comes, the other one refuses to come. So your absence doesn't mean the case will not go on. So we frown on such things, and we want them to stop. We want Ambazonians to know you don't just go out there because you have a TV station, you have a show, you have thousands or millions of followers, and then you say all types of rubbish. and lies and half-truths without backing, you will have to follow the channels. These templates are going to every LGA and county, and you get to your local authority to be able to file such complaints, and also to the country and regional heads and executives. They will have such templates also, uniform in all of Ambazonia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndula, for that. Barrister Tim, may we have your last words, closing words for this template resolutions that you are talking about?
Well, the template issue, what I want us to know is that the rules that will apply as ethical rules here, they are not private rules developed by us. They are almost universal. But you have to reduce it into writing in some format so that the same format that is applied in Kumba is applied in Banso, is applied in Manfe. So that's why we make a template. As Mr. Ndula has already said, we are not concerned with the content that you must write in good English, you must write in Japanese. No. We read it no matter in what form you write it. But what we want it is that the template should be there. In other words, the template bears your name. It bears the name of the person you're accusing. It bears the names of your witnesses. So that if you go to another, the same thing should apply to Kumba as it applies to Manfe, it applies to Bamenda.
Right.
So we'll have this, that's what they call the template. The content is not what we're discussing now. You put the content in the form you understand the complaint. What am I complaining about? The other difference is that, as I've said, we are doing it as a nation, so we want it in writing. Ethical things have gone back to our villages, to our families from day one. Take it a village situation. A woman complains that the old man has stolen her cocoyams in the farm. She goes to the palace. It's not in writing. That's unethical. The palace will investigate. They will send some two other elders there. They go there and say, no, this is not your farm. This woman did not trespass. You are wrong. The village is not going to drive away that woman who the complaint. The best thing they will do is, well, you lied against your neighbor. Maybe you go and clean 1 kilometer of road or 50 yards of the road. It is handled as ethical. But for us to understand right at this level, if it is something that you could solve at the ethics level, I refuse to come. As I've said earlier, you are not yet out of the woods. There are issues that will end in the ethics that would have been terrible if we had not handled them. Because the other party complained about you, I refuse to come. That guy, depending upon what it is, has the right to take you to a court wherever he is. If it's in Japan, if it's in Germany, if it's in China, he can sue you there, and the cost will be devastating for you. So again, don't think that you can defy the ethics and go away free. Yeah, you might probably be digging a digger grave for yourself about the things that have come out of your mouth, or the things that you have written, or the things that you have asked others to do for you. So the template is important because it saves us as a referral. It saves uniformity, as I said, and will save continuity. The next day when we're not there, somebody will come and pick and say, yes, this is what was decided. That's continuity.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Barrister Tim. And Dr. Ndula, sorry, Barrister, oh my God, you are all going to... Dr. Titanta, I mean to call you for your last words. So that, over to you.
Yes. My last word is actually like a summary of what has been said here. Dr. Ndula said, practice makes perfect. And I think we should start to put these things in practice. Ours will be a participatory democracy where we would expect feedback from the grassroots. So I am appealing on all the Ambazonians who are following this show. Call to your local government area authorities and ask them to make sure they have these forms. Call to the commissioner, the chair lady of the commissioner, and congratulate her and tell her you would love these things to be if implicate your local government authority. If your local government authorities are not very active, do your citizen duty to get yourself involved. This template we are setting up, they are very important. They would be not only one of the reasons because we said they must be archived. They are not just archived for just being archived. They are archived because I think our nation is like a church. In one of the scriptures in the Bible, Paul's writing to the Galatian church, to the Ephesian church, he wrote and said to some, he gave some apostles, he gave some evangelists, he gave some pastors, he gave some teachers, he gave some prophets for the building up of the church. I think now the Amazonia is like a nation that is under construction. He said, for the building of the until we all come into the perfect image of Christ. So it is a continuous process of building Amazonia. It is not a process that starts today and end tomorrow. No, it must continue. And everything, we must see every case that comes in front of the Ethics Commission as something to learn from, something to improve our society upon, something that we should hand over to universities for studies and see, because some of these some of these things will come up in several times, and from that we can be able to draw conclusion. This is a problem in our society that should be addressed. We would have to, they would like in law, where cases are being studied in law, when you go to court, you court cases. These are real cases that were solved in a country, and those cases, the way it was solved, will be help us to solve other cases that will come up. So if we don't archive this thing must be archived and well protected, because this is the heritage of our nation that we're planning to build. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been a wonderful day. Our time is up, and I'm looking forward to another Friday, the same time. I want to encourage as many as have been watching and listening to this program not to relent your effort, but to go ahead and do everything possible to invite other people so we can begin to build our nation. Well, gentlemen, it has been a nice time. Good night, and see you.
Good night.
Good night, fellow Amazonians. And stay strong.
Yeah. God bless us.
That big computer does not work. It's not very good. But I can go and start it for you, though.
And our ultimate goal is peace in Amazonia.
Yes. I don't know what's going on here now.
Maybe just one last thing. I mean, problems are there to be solved, which is why we are there. So it is much better, as the Bible says, to go to your complainer and get that problem solved before he or she takes you to court, where you will be convicted, thrown into prison. So the same applies in Amazonia today.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambazonians. Good night.
Good night, everybody.